Um, so that's, of course, my mom. Uh, uh, Attached to the invite of this AGM is the minutes of the previous AGM 2024. It is signed by both the member secretariat and Mike Suss, who was chairing that AGM. And if there are no objections, I'd like to propose that we accept these minutes. Does anyone second that proposal?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Sam. Sam Benzilla seconds. And then I'm also going to hand over to you, Sam, for the confirmation or resignation of existing directors.
Thanks, Skeppers. The current board comprises of Lorraine Tanner and Dane, whose surname has just completely slipped my mind.
Marison. It's
Thank you
fine.
very
Get
much.
confused with Morrison.
Thank you very much. Also, myself, Samantha Benzala, Jan Bester, Sydney Matabula, Conrad Middle, Nick Rabenheimer, Mike Tasrolf, and until the 8th of August, Johanna Richteriana. And stepping down this year, as is required by the Companies Act, Johanna Richteriana and Nick Rabenheimer. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you very much, Sam. The current election has completed, but we have not contacted all of the candidates yet. So we are not quite announcing the new board members at this point in time. Then I'm going to hand over to Lars to present the director's report for 2024. Thank you very much, Lars.
Thank you, Skippy, and I'm going to apologise in advance that I haven't had a chance to practice this. So as I stumble along all of the words and numbers, I request your forgiveness. Our theme set us up for another biblical cycle. Honestly, we are a self-fulfilling prophecy. The supplier policy for the annual event sent seismic shocks through the lives of purveyors of great lengths of beige and those who seek its shelter. The socials lit up with concerns and consternation. How were citizens of Tanquetown going to simultaneously achieve shade while retaining all of their limbs? Horror fantasies of impalings on rebar were indulged, overnight armchair event safety officers sprung up, and aspersions at the organisers were once again cast. It marked the beginning of Make AfrikaBurn Hard Again rally and the birth of creation. In real life, operations was being augmented, getting younger and looking less pale. This was not a result of plastic surgery, but the intake through funded internships and the retention thereafter in employment. In this cycle, 4 new team members were taken on post-internship, 3 through ArtBank's graduate programme, and 1 coming through the previous cycle from CPUT, all into full-time roles. Spring saw a flurry of outreach activity in the Tanqua along with the annual flowers, which bloomed forever on Quaggafontein that season. 26 domestic animals were attended to at the Spayathon. Outreach volunteers supported the community day at the Tanqua Padstall, and a successful trip by long-standing partners Cart Horse Protection Association, who inspected 39 equines in total. The Cart Horse team repaired harnesses and supplied repair materials, distributed veterinary packs, and provided necessary farrier care. A welcome sight was seeing the bits that were distributed in 2015 are still in use. The team also shared knowledge and skills with those whose horses, donkeys, and mules are not just integral to their livelihoods, but are also cherished family members. At Elandsley School, outreach supported the provision of teaching assistants who had not had their post renewed by the department for a full year. Colexodus helped fill up the school pantry, and we continue to support the 2 Tanqua learners at Calvinia High School with school and hostel fees. Streetopia hit the ground running, returning as a City of Cape Town special event and a fully funded programme through the National Arts Council with temporary public art route featuring 13 funded artworks and drawing a pre-COVID sized crowd. The Orange were out in force, and so were the volunteers, with the stalwart silver cloud flying high on Lower Main. A brand new feature, the drag race, with Queens and mutant vehicles, stole the show. Radio Free Tanker ran a live broadcast. There were 3 sound stages and a variety of performances, and the Observatory Improvement District was on board again. Interns piloting an art residency hosted an exhibition at our old Digs the Bijou in January, and RISE returned for its 2nd iteration with support from the Western Cape government. The funding and timing for RISE didn't work for the tanker, so instead we took it to the coast. Siren Call saw 38 women and gender non-binary people gather. Trading the heat of the homestead for the chill of the Atlantic, it yielded shared endeavours and built our resilience to tackle the hard topics creatively, yet we missed the deafening silence of the desert and the isolation that brings us closer. Building our support for local networks again, the happening happened, striking out on its own from the Streetopia umbrella in Melville. The homestead had a facelift, and another annual event critical path rolled around. Operations battled through all kinds of technical glitches, we forgive you tribe, and there was also some podcasting too. DPW, who literally dress as canaries for their foray into the proverbial collieries, got ripped apart and cut off by a storm, along with the artists that were on site. They picked themselves up, pieced themselves back together, dusted themselves off, and carried on as they were. A fair amount of our new equipment got damaged as well, which put us on the back foot. Making AfrikaBurn hard again was an open opportunity for all. The ops and volunteer leagues had to pitch in that bit harder to get their service stations up ahead of service provision. There was even a sighting and subsequent evidence of a director doing manual labour. With tickets purchased from 98 countries, we had nearly 50% of our participants through the gates on event opening day. This cycle, kids' tickets were free, and we saw an increase in minors and kids for the first time post-COVID. Our community showed up as 10,867 event participants, 158-ish mutant vehicles, 95 theme camps, 80 artworks, 26 burns, 20 performances, 15 binnockering events, and 10 roving artworks. Rangers were still the mainstay of the volunteering experience, and across all remits, there were 445 days worth of volunteer hours gifted across the week of AfrikaBurn 2024. Contrary to popular belief and their own fears, the stretchy dwellers all survived. When they stopped pitching battles and started pitching tents, those funny sayings that abound, radical self-reliance and communal effort what became a tangible reality. The what the fuck ride also grew to the thickness of a Gideon Bible and looked like one too, as theme camps mushroomed in a bid for a shady spot. Lizzie returned while she was there, and the tree of stories of our past felled instantaneously by fire. Some participants talked to God, and the Temple of Luminescence captured and crocheted our collective hearts. Mother Nature gifted every camp at least one scorpion. Out on the binnockering, their numbers seemed only second in critical mass to that of the naked runners. We reached peak sting on the Friday. We also increased our links. Mono and Star joined Inter as part of the Tanker Town furniture, the default seemingly ever encroaching. During the event week, there were many challenges, mostly overcome. Internally, there were moments of worry, but in the main, the team stepped up to the plate and we all pulled through. We also bade goodbye to some of our long-standing team members this cycle, yet they remain close in our community at large. In our efforts towards balancing personal accountability and community care, we ramped up support and STAR. As we moved through processes like a zero-tolerance approach, accountability partners, and codifying how we address occurrences of harm to people, risk to culture, and damage to property in our temporary community, we first expect to receive more reports and have initiated an increased amount of investigations. Secondly, we see much more clearly the ripples of impact into default lives and gain perspective on our duty of care. In the creation cycle, the wider operations team, individual and collective well-being were significantly more impacted by boundary violations from stressed participants wanting attention and support during our event critical path, when our team's burden is already at its greatest. We've always had pitchforks, but some are now reaching fever pitch. We held a 4-day process around putting creativity at the centre to find new ways of working together and walking our talk after the ephemeral city had returned to dust. Again, the post-event survey completed by a little over 9% of our Tankertown population gave us food for thought and data to work with. 71% of respondents are local, which shows that the driving force of our community is very much South African. Popping out of the event mindset, we picked up the pace with the strategic pathways development towards our evolution, converging all the inputs and testing them across the spheres of the organisation. Spark grants concluded the cycle with a full complement of 11 grants being allocated across the country, and we look forward to their report back soon. Once again, it was an eventful and challenging year, and in the words of Alice Walker from her collection, Hard Times Require Furious Dancing, this resonates. Though we have encountered our share of grief and troubles on this earth, we can still hold the line of beauty, form and beat. No small accomplishment in a world as challenging as this one.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. Challenges on various levels all around this year again. I am going to hand over to Dan now to present the financial year end 2024 financial statements. Dan, please.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Skippy. And Lars, really beautifully written. Thank you so much for that. I think just to maybe highlight a few, sort of points that you did bring forward in that. Let's make AfrikaBurn hard again, really took on a whole new meaning for us this year. And a huge shout out does need to go to the Ops and DPW team that were on the ground and weathered really one of the most intense storms we have seen. With only a few weeks to pull things together in time for the event, they really worked some magic, and this really was the year of recreation. Yeah, with wind speeds of up to 100 kilometers, it was extremely intense. Here's just a few pictures of the team pulling together, digging trenches, picking up the pieces. Thanks, JL, for the pics, and really well done to you and the team for pulling that together. As mentioned, we also did a facelift with the barn. So for those that haven't seen it, there's a few little pics. Just a little shout out to Roger for those pics and for your help driving this process. We also got a new toy. It's become our new pride and joy this year. Yeah, so thanks Dee and Hannes just for treating our baby. It was just so much care there. Oops. So it does bring, as Skippy did just introduce, just to bring us into our financial update for the year. As approved last year, we changed our auditors over to next year SAB&T. As you can see, here's just a few of their clients that they do also deal with. The onboarding of having us as a new client has been extremely detailed and a thorough process. ASA Accountants has taken on drafting the initial AFS, where this has now been handed over to Nexia with the needed edits of groupings and allocations. Nexia's final version of the draft will be shared with us just in the coming week and will be distributed accordingly. So below is just a summary of our financial position for the financial year. With our annual income and an opening balance on August 1st, we started off the year with just over 17.2 million. Our closing balance was just over 20.8 million. Our event revenue was just over 33.8 million. And other income, that's normally just interest earned, was just over 2.3 million. And with grants and donations, just over 860,000. So brought our gross income for the year just over 37.1 million, which fortunately enough did take us over what was budgeted for at the beginning of the year. With our annual expenses, our event expenses were just over 17.6 million. Our operating cost, which does exclude humans, was just over 2.5 million. Our humans budget was just over 8.6 million. Programming cost came over just over 960,000, and our Kwagga expenses just over 860,000. So our total expenses for the year was just over 30.7 million rand, which was below what was budgeted for. So here's just also a breakdown of how you see those expenses being allocated. So with operating costs, just as mentioned, it does exclude the humans budget. You can see a lot of that sort of allocation goes to rent paid for HQ, vehicle repair and maintenance, ICT subscriptions, and insurance. And just moving on to the main event expenses, you can see the breakdown and allocation here, where large consideration goes towards the creative budget, DPW, ops, medical, transport, and logistics. Onto programming and development, as was mentioned, there has just been a real sort of reactivation of Streetopia, Rise. We increased the Spark grant allocation and obviously the outreach. And with Kwagga, with just the general upkeep and maintenance, so you see that as direct costs, the circular economy, site development, and water. So yeah, that brings me a close to a close for the, in presenting a snapshot into our last financial year. And we're all getting ready for the next one, as AfrikaBurn out of the blue.
Thank you, Dane.
Yep.
I move that we accept these draft financial statements. Do we have anyone to second that?
Second.
There's a lot of hearts and fire and thumbs up through the chat, but we need to hear that. And thank you, Mike, for saying second.
Thanks so much. And then I see there's a separate section for the approval of the auditor's remuneration for the past year.
Correct. So I can carry on leading with that. So as you know, as mentioned, next year, has been our auditors for this financial cycle. In our previous fiscal year, we had AAS Pocock, who received 63,125 rand excluding VAT. So that was for the fiscal year ending 31st of July 2024. So that covered the audit of the fiscal year 2023 AFS. So as mentioned, membership voted to move next year, to do our AFS for the fiscal year 2024. And that was at a cost of 65,625 rand. We do recommend, continuing the use of the services of Nexia, just given the lengths they have gone in order to fully understand our organization's financials. Nexia has given us a quote of 68,900 excluding VAT for the 2025 fiscal year. And we do propose that Nexia remain our auditors for the next financial cycle.
Cool, thank you, Dane. I move to approve the auditor's remuneration and appointment for the financial year 2025. Is there anyone to second?
I will second.
Thanks, Michelle. And then that moves us on to any other business. Is there any other business in particular from the room? Please put your hand up if you do have any. Lorraine, I do see your hand.
Thank you. I just wanted to share, and I will share my screen quickly, the work that we have been doing on the strategic pathways. Can we see that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I will try and make it into a better... There we go. So this is just a summary document, and we will be publishing this on our website shortly. But I'm pleased to say that we have concluded the initial work on the strategic pathways, which initially took in a review of 10 years of our various meetings, our boss parades, our special members meetings, etc., as a baseline for understanding where we're going into the future. And collectively, we came up with a purpose for the strategy, which is that AfrikaBurn inspires creative experiments in the art of inclusive and regenerative community culture. The aim of the strategy seeks to find balance as we move forward into a world unknown. And the key threads of this review were longevity, inclusivity, human scaffolding, systems building, community engagement, and resource flow. And looking at where we are and the problems that we face as a society, that our world gone mad has been normalized to the point of absurdity and apathy. In the most equal country, which is South Africa, we will have no real impact on future generations unless we act with urgency to reverse damage and turn towards a better world for all beings. And we're saying that this invites and requires our creativity and action. So in this process, what we did is we identified that we can look at ourselves in 3 broad spheres. That is create, which is the organization, celebrate, which is the annual flagship event, and activate, which is the movement at large. And then we delved into these in more detail, and we built out the first 3 years of where we see ourselves going. What we also did is we looked at our pathways in terms of what it is we're seeking to change in the world. And in that, we are looking at environment and regeneration, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And then also a more balanced flow of resources so that we can remain as an organization that perpetuates good in the world, and that we ensure that we are supporting the community and the movement to do their thing in the world. So basically, as I said, what we've done is we built out the kind of the first 3 years of what we see as being the most important steps, and obviously not knowing what is on our horizon, these things need to be a little bit malleable as we move towards our future. So yeah, I don't really have much more to say on it at this stage. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to try and answer them at this stage. But we will be sharing a lot more about this on our website soon and in our newsletters soon.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. I mean, this body of work or this presentation is just the tip of a body of work that is a giant iceberg, and I mean we're immensely grateful for that. It's a hell of a lot of work that's been condensed into a very tiny presentation. Thank you so much. Michelle, I see your hand as well.
Thank you, Skippy. Thank you, Lorraine, for all your hard work on the strategic plan. I just wanted to recognize our candidate members who are going to become members following this meeting. So we have 6 wonderful new members joining us. They are Kat Carlton, Aloba Kigomo, Bella West, Kate Turner, Golden Octagon, sorry, Golden, and Karen Morris. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
so much, Michelle. Yes, definitely. Welcome to our new members.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes. Were there any additional hands? Cool. Then lastly, for the any other business, this is also my last day as the membership chair, or shall I say rather the interim membership chair, since my term was completed early in February. It has been like absolutely amazing. It's been tough as fuck. It's been hard work. It's been crazy times. I've received support from so many people during this time. I've had to give support to so many people so many times. I've learned an incredible amount. These are things that I've never before in my life experienced or had to do before, and it has been an absolute privilege. It's been quite the ride, and I am very happy to hand over the reins to Alex Noble, who has been elected, and immediately post this AGM will now be the new membership chair. Alex, do you want to say a word or two?
Yeah, thanks, Skippers. Yeah, so just a little bit of background. There was a moment where nobody wanted to be the member chair. We must know that Skippers did it in an atmosphere where nobody really stood up to that task. And it's really a 3-year appointment or 3-year kind of exercise, and you've done 4 years, so you've gone way beyond. And I think you've taken us through some very difficult times. And I think we're in a very different space and a very positive, good space. And yeah, I look forward to being part of whatever comes, from here onwards. Yeah. So the next time you hear from me, it will be at the couch call. And yeah, I am attending MEMSEC meetings every week. And just behind the scenes, there's a lot of admin and a lot of discussions about sort of steering the membership. So yeah, I hope I can contribute nicely to this whole process. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Any other additional business?
Skippy, it's not additional business. I would just like to thank you as a member and a board member. You strode up that learning curve with grace and aplomb and really nailed it. You've made the role of mem chair your own, and you've figured out how to fill it with head and heart, and it has been an absolute privilege to work with you for these past 4 years in that space, and thank you. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thanks so much. And if that is all, I do believe quite possibly that we have just set yet a new record for the length of the AGM. Very well done. Thank you so much to everyone that has been present, everyone that has been watching. We all appreciate all of you. Like, thank you so much. And if there are no objections, I would like to close the 2024 AGM. Going once, going twice, and sold. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful evening further. Love you lots.
Cheers, Skippers.
Good
Cheers.
night.
Thank you very much for a good evening.
Yeah.
Good
Cheers,
night.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
No, it's
Bye,
24 now.
everyone.
Ciao.
Bye, Skippy. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
That was brilliant. Wow.
That
Golly.
was brilliant.
Quick.
Thank you.
We're reaching records. Bye, guys. Wonderful.
Coolio ending the stream now. Thank you, Skippy.
Thanks, Bash.
Ciao.
Have you ended the recording in the stream yet?
Yes, right now.